Learning to ride a bike without training wheels is a huge developmental milestone. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'll never forget the day that I learned how to ride a bike. I just remember feeling so much confidence, and it was just a fun experience for me, and I felt just so accomplished after I mastered that skill. And we recently taught my 5-year-old how to ride a bike without training wheels, and I want to share with you, what worked for us, as well as some practical tips for curbing our own anxiety as parents so that we don't pass that on to our kids, because I experienced a lot of anxiety as she was starting to take the wheel and ditch her training wheels, and all the falling was happening. I mean, it was a lot. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I recommend and what worked for us. So let's dive in. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Dr. Jasmine. I'm a clinical psychologist as well as a mom of 2 girls. And around here, we love to talk about all things positive parenting, child development, as well as, how to keep our own sanity as parents. So I'm so excited to dive into this episode. This is going to be a special one. I'm excited to kind of share some behind the scenes. So if you are watching on or listening on podcast, I should say, you're going to get a better viewer experience on YouTube, because I'm going to be including some B-roll throughout this video because we filmed as my daughter was learning these skills, and she was super excited to be the teacher and to help other kids. So this is a special video for us. But before we dive into the video, I just want to say that after watching this video, you should take my free 2-minute quiz. It's designed to help you figure out what's your unique parenting style, and then it gives you tailored tips based on your results. So I actually send you a report, both written and a video report, breaking down your results as well as giving you practical tips on how to increase cooperation and connection with your little one. So it's fun, it's free, and it only takes 2 minutes to complete. So you can go to themomspsychologist.com/quiz to take my free parenting style quiz. All right, let's dive into the video. So one of the common questions that gets asked when it comes to teaching your child how to ride a bike is, what age is best? When should I even be starting this? Here is the golden rule. You don't want to force this onto your child, so you definitely want to look for signs and cues, and you can bring it up to them to kind of suss out whether or not they're interested, but you want to look for signs that they are interested, they're motivated to learn, because you don't want to force this onto them. From a developmental perspective, typically kids have enough of the motor skills to be able to ride a bike without training wheels around 5 or 6. But of course, huge caveat, every kid is so different. There's no real magical age at which they should be riding a bike. So you just want to, take your unique child into consideration. You can obviously approach them with the idea. You can show them pictures of little ones, riding a bike. You can show them videos, read books about it, which I'm going to talk about one book that really, really helped us prepare for the journey. But you can kind of introduce these things just like how I recommend with, let's say, another developmental milestone like potty training. You can kind of warm them up, suss out, how ready they are, but you definitely don't want to be forcing this onto them. Now, if they're on the younger side and you're like, I definitely know they're not developmentally ready to start, but should I be doing certain things now to get them ready? One of the common recommendations is to get a balance bike. So it's a bike that doesn't have any pedals, and they're helps them with balancing on the bike. We got one for our girls when they were around 2, 3-ish, but they never took to it. Unfortunately, they didn't have any interest in riding that thing. They're like, where are the pedals? What's going on? I don't understand this. And they just never were really interested in it. So we ended up buying them a bike with training wheels. I'll go ahead and link the bike that we got them. We bought that when they were 3 and 4. We still have it, and it's been a great bike. They absolutely love their bikes, and it comes in some cool colors. So I'll go ahead and link the bike that we have for them. Now, before you start, there are important things to know and make sure are all figured out before you even get your kid on the bike. One of the things is making sure that their helmet is properly fitted. When it comes to this, there are certain measurements and things you want to look out for and just certain details. I'll go ahead and reference the article that I referred to because that would be a lot to cover in this video. The other thing you want to make sure is fitted correctly is their bike, that it is at a comfortable height, they can comfortably get to the pedals, and everything is just, you know, exactly the way that they need it to ensure success, because if these things are not properly fitted, it could be very unsafe. So again, I will link the two articles that I referred to when trying to just make sure that their helmet was properly fitted, as well as that their bike was the right height and the right fit for their body. The other thing you want to make sure you do before you start this process is to go over the safety rules for riding a bike. So one, it's always important to wear a helmet, no bike. You want to make sure that you fit them in bright clothes so that they're easily seen. You want to talk about the importance of being aware of cars. If you want to assume, and you want to teach them to assume that the cars can't see them, so they need to be mindful of the cars, to be mindful of them pulling in and out of driveways, the importance of staying close, the importance of stopping at intersections and crosswalks and getting off your bike to walk it across the street. Like all of those really important safety rules, you definitely want to make sure that you go over those before they even get on the bike. Make sure that they understand them, have them repeat them. Another one is to keep it fun and light. Number one rule other than safety is to have fun. So try to keep your demeanor positive and light. We're going to talk about, you know, some other concrete tips on managing our own anxiety, but you just want to just be mindful of your expectations and try to keep them low. Try not to put too much pressure on them to learn this in a certain amount of time or in a certain amount of way. So that they can just focus on having fun and learning in their own time. All right, let's get into the fun stuff. This is a step-by-step breakdown of how we taught our daughter how to ride a bike. One, you want to practice, if you can, in an open area like a parking lot or a tennis court, or just like an open trail that has a lot of space. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was trying to learn how to drive a car, my mom took me to an open parking lot. So the same thing is kind of true. Just try to be mindful of the space and make sure that there's not too many distractions, cars and other things, so that they can just focus on what they're trying to learn. And then step one is to remove the pedals. So you basically are creating a balance bike if you don't have one already. And so you remove the pedals and you just have them walk their bike and get used to balancing on a bike, because at least for my girls before this, they didn't have experience with this because they always had their training wheels. So this is an important first step, is just getting them used to balancing on a bike, walking it to and from, right? And then the second step is to then introduce the idea that we're going to start coasting. Coasting basically means that they put their legs up. You can start with just one leg up and have one leg down, or you could do both legs up, which is what we did, just kind of depending on where your child's at and where their comfort level is. But basically, after they've gotten used to balancing on the bike, then the next step is to put their legs up and just practice balancing without leg support. And you can turn this into a fun game. You can say, you know, I'm gonna time you. Let's see how long you can coast. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nice. Let's see if you can top that record. Let's see if you can go past 4 seconds. Yay, you did it. 6 seconds. Oh, let's try to see if we can get to 10 seconds. Now, of course, you know, read their cues. Again, don't put too much pressure on them, but kids love a fun game. And so my daughter got really into that, trying to top her score, trying to just see how many seconds she can do. That gave her some good feedback of where she was at. So when they can start to balance on their bike and coast for a good length of time, let's say around 10-15 seconds, and they're looking and feeling more confident in their ability to balance without leg support, then you want to move to putting the pedals back on the bike and practicing. First you want to practice and teach them about the brakes. That's really important. Before they start pedaling, teach them about the brakes and how to use them, where they are, and have them practice that. And then you want to start introducing the idea of pedaling. Now, what we did when we put the pedals back on is we went into an open grass field so that if and when she fell, because that, they're gonna fall, it was a little bit softer of a landing, and that just made me feel a little bit less anxious. But so we started in the grass, and then we gradually worked our way up. As she was pedaling more and more and more, we worked our way up to the concrete. Now, during this process where they are learning to pedal, be mindful of your push, your urge to hold on to the handlebars for them and help them, because this will interfere with their learning. I know it's hard. I know there's a lot of anxiety that happens, but just know as the more you hold on to them, the longer it's going to take for them to learn and feel confident in their own abilities. So with that being said, let's dive into some tips on managing anxiety. First question that comes up is, well, how do I help my child feel less anxious? How do I help them be confident? Now, this goes back to what I mentioned earlier in the episode, that you really want to make sure your child is ready mentally for this. You don't want this to be your idea only and you're kind of forcing this onto them. You want them to have some level of excitement and interest and motivation to learn this skill. So that's tip number one. But also normalize, that they are gonna fall. If they ask like, what if I fall and I'm so scared, it's like, yes, you're gonna fall. Let's practice falling before we practice writing, which I love that concept, right? That let's normalize, it's gonna happen, and you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be able to get back up when you're ready, and that's just the process of learning, right? That it takes a lot of mistakes and ups and downs before we really learn something, and that's okay. That means you're on the right track, actually. One of the books that we got before my daughter learned how to ride a bike was the book The Magical Yet, and it actually depicts the main character learning how to ride a bike and falling multiple times, and just the magic of yet, right? I don't know how to ride a bike yet. I'm gonna keep practicing, and it's such a cute book. It talks about how we all have this magical yet that helps us keep going when we are in the face of adversity and making mistakes and trying to learn new things. So definitely get that book because it is a beautiful book. I love it, and it just really helped normalize failure, right? Normalize mistakes, normalize falling, and just instill that confidence that it's okay if they fall. They will fall, so let's practice that. So you can get on the grass and just practice falling, and praise them for their bravery and their courage. While also, you want to balance all of this while also normalizing. It is scary to learn a new skill. I feel a little anxious when I'm trying to learn something new. So definitely validate those feelings. You don't want to be dismissive of them, but then you can shore up their confidence with some of that work about, the magical yet and failure and making mistakes, and that it is all okay and par for the course. The other thing that helped my daughter feel more confident is we put her in some armor. So she has knee pads and elbow pads so that, if she does fall, not if, I keep saying if, no, when she falls, she's a little bit more padded, she's a little bit more protected. That can help them feel more confident. Again, opting for grass versus pavement, letting go of the handlebars, okay? You don't want to be holding on to them handlebars, because now you could be passing on your own anxiety to them, where they're like, oh, why can't I ride it on myself? Do I need my mom or my dad with me? What's going on? It just kind of can feed into their uncertainty. So don't hold on to them handlebars. I was guilty of that in the beginning, and I was like, okay, Jasmine, you have got to let go. You have got to let go. So let's talk about our own anxiety. Speaking of which, when teaching our child how to ride a bike or even just any kind of wheels, right? It's anxiety provoking. So I'm a huge fan of mantras. because they really challenge our negative self-talk, because commonly our anxiety stems from us being like, they're gonna fall and they're gonna get so hurt and they're not safe and this is not okay. I'm putting them in danger. I'm so scared of X, Y, and Z, right? We have all of these negative thoughts based on, you know, what's the worst possible outcome that can happen. And so really just being mindful of your self-talk and trying to use mantras to turn that around. And basically what you're turning it around to is that this is okay. If they fall, they will be okay, right? They will be able to cope. I will be able to cope. We will get through this. So you can remind yourself through things like they are safe. It's okay to fall. They will survive the fall. Falling is a part of the learning process. This is how they are learning. They are learning when they are falling. They will be okay. I will be okay. This is good for them. This is good that they're learning this new skill. They're going to feel so confident and accomplished, and I'm going to feel so proud of myself as the parent for helping them learn this huge skill. They can do this. I can do this. We can do this. So just being mindful of your self-talk, trying your best to turn that around, turn your perspective around can be huge. Also, another common question is like, well, I find myself yelling like, be careful. I know it's not helpful. I know it's not directive. I know it doesn't give them any kind of guidance, but that's my fallback phrase when I am feeling anxious. And so what are some things I can say instead? Which I love this question. And so some of the things you can say are kind of exploratory questions like, do you feel steady on this? And also teaching them, you know, where your eyes go, your bike goes. So teaching them, like, if you're turning around to look behind you, your bike is going to turn too. So make sure that you stop your bike if you need to turn around, kind of thing. Keep your eyes straight on the road so that you don't crash. So basically using the opportunity to kind of just teach them, educate them before they get into those situations. Also teaching them about brakes, and you can use your brakes to slow down if you feel like they're going too fast, or you can say really directly, please use your brakes to slow down. So that, you know, if you feel like they're going too fast or they're getting too far, you're getting too far away. Another thing I'll say is, you know, stop at that red car, and then they'll see the red car and they're like, okay, stop. You can also say freeze, you know, practice the freeze and go kind of game beforehand, and then use that language while they are riding their bike. Those have been helpful. Also just pointing out things. Notice the hill is coming. Notice this is happening. Notice the car over there. Just kind of helping them notice their surroundings to help you and them feel safe. Also saying things like, you know, I'm here if you need me. Things like that. Just to kind of be more directive, more educational, and just prompting them to be aware of their surroundings can be more helpful language than be careful. Now, the last thing I will say about managing anxiety is sometimes we have to recognize if we are just not the right teacher. If we are just not the right teacher for our child just due to our anxiety. And that's what ultimately happened with me. I was like, this is too much. I am now passing on my anxiety to her. My husband is right here. He's a natural born athlete. He has way less fear when it comes to wheels and just sports and all that. And so I need to pass the baton here. I need to sit this one out. I need to cheer from the sidelines and not be an active teacher because this is just not my ministry. And that's okay, right? We don't have to be responsible for teaching our child everything. And I think it's wonderful when other family members can get involved in this process. So recognize when you need to pass the baton, and maybe you need to sit this one out, or maybe just that day you need to go sit down somewhere, because what we don't want to do is pass on our anxiety to our kids, because then that's just going to hinder their learning process, and that's going to make them feel less confident in themselves and second guess themselves, and just, yeah, it's a perfect storm. So I hope that this was helpful and you kind of deciding and figuring out, you know, when to start this process and some important things to keep in mind as you teach your child this new skill, which is so exciting. And again, don't forget to take my free 2-minute parenting style quiz to find out your unique parenting style, as well as get some tailored tips on how to increase cooperation as well as connection with your child. To take the quiz, you can go to themomspsychologist.com/quiz. That's all I got for you guys today. I will see you in the next one. Bye.